I tend to think life would be a whole lot easier if I knew very clearly who my enemies and who my friends were. But life doesn't work out like that a lot. A lot of people who we think are our best friends are actually villains. And that's a strange reality to come to terms with. Some of that's growing up. You think you know where people are at. You think you know where family members are even at. And then as you age, you start to understand things more in their full sense. You start to really get it. This is a hard reality to come to terms with, and one that God has baked into our world and our society. He does not allow easily, or constantly, maybe I should say, for a distinction, clear distinction, sometimes even between the people of God and the people of this world. Because wherever you have a strong force in one direction, you're going to have imitators mixed in with that. You're going to have pretenders. You're going to have a Demas. You're going to have a Judas. And like I said, for me, that's been one of the hardest realities to come to terms with. When I'm marching through the book of Malachi, one of the things I love so much about it is that he's probing into the heart of the listener. And if you're able to pass the kind of test that he presents through his questions, then you know where you stand. But much of that examination is internal. Now, it can be seen externally, of course. The things that he mentions, like the type of offerings you bring before the Lord, would be external, to be visible. But you don't always know what somebody's got. Even if you're in a small village of people, you think you know the best lamb that this guy could bring to the offering, but you don't 100% know. So much of this is still, even with external things like an offering, there's still the internal component of these things. When it all gets fleshed out, though, at the close of Malachi chapter 3, what you find is the way that you can clearly identify the people of God is by what they do with the accusations that are now brought. Now that the lights have been turned on, now that they can see more clearly who's on the Lord's side, now that group can coalesce, they can get together, or they can continue in the path that they were headed and disregard God. But the people of God will, if they have any wisdom, take note of those who make no amendment to their ways. Malachi chapter 3, verse 16, "Then those who feared the Lord spoke to one another, and the Lord gave attention and heard it. And the book of remembrance was written before him for those who fear the Lord and who esteem his name. They will be mine, says the Lord of hosts. On the day that I prepare my own possession, I will spare them as a man spares his own son who serves him. You will again distinguish between the righteous and the wicked, between the one who serves God and the one who does not serve him." What is it that's going to help us distinguish between these crowds? The truly wise, those who are really in tune with God, can see this stuff pretty readily. But the average Joe, you might say, the average guy following God, he might not be able to make these distinctions so quickly. Trials, though, have a way of revealing, of showing things for what they truly are. Chapter 4, verse 1, which is really an unfortunate spot for a chapter and verse break. This is an extension of chapter 3. Here it says, "For behold, the day is coming, burning like a furnace, and all the arrogant and every evildoer will be chaff. And the day that is coming will set them ablaze, says the Lord of hosts, so that it will leave them neither root nor branch." So check this out at this point. What is it that's going to finally reveal the difference? That's going to really show for the people of God. See, the people, like on almost every age, the people who are at the top, the people who are running things, the people who have the power and have the voice, are not people that are serious about following God. They are a people who know how to play to a crowd, probably. They know how to work a system. They know how to put the right foot forward. But they're not really all that concerned with God. And now God is going to get rid of all that nonsense. How is he going to do? How is he going to remove all of the special ways that people are able to position and put themselves in a spot where they can, get the most. How's it going to remove all of that? It says here in verse 1, there's a day coming that's burning like a furnace. Now, what does a furnace tend to do to chaff, as he mentions here? Well, we know what it does. It burns it up. It completely destroys it. There's nothing left. I mean, ashes that go up in the flames. That's what will be left. The arrogant, all the arrogant and every evildoer. All the people who are even among the people of Israel here. This is the encouragement to this audience as they heard it. All the people who are the arrogant and the evildoers, those who have been able to put themselves in the right location and run things even though they don't really care about God, they'll be burned up. They'll be dealt with. God says vengeance is his. He will repay. He will deal. So every evildoer will be like chaff, consumed by the coming of God. Which is really interesting, of course, because we know that John the Baptist takes up this very prophecy and he then uses it talking about the distinction between himself and what the Son of Man will do when he comes. This is what he is understanding, that there will be this distinction that will be made, that will be clear between the people of God and those who are pretenders. And notice it says here that the Lord he's not just going to set them ablaze and consume these arrogant evildoers, but he says he will leave them neither root nor branch. They're going to have nothing left, no system of support, and no outgrowth that shows how important they are. Both those things are removed. You'll often find that when things go really wrong in a society, in a country, that the really rich people manage to, they don't get out unscathed, but they get out not nearly hurt as bad as the rest. They were able to get a private flight. They were able to protect their money. Something like that. They're able to stay insulated from all that was really going on, from what was happening to the average person. That's not going to happen. No root, no system of support, and no branch, no outgrowth showing how powerful and how much they have been able to succeed. But now comes the positive encouragement. There was the negative encouragement for the true people of God and the threat to those who ignore him. Here's the positive encouragement for the people of God, verse 2. But for you who fear my name, the group that was just mentioned at the end of chapter 3, verse 16. But for you who fear my name, the Son of Righteousness will rise with healing in its wings, and you will go forth and skip about like calves from the stall. You will tread down the wicked, for they will be ashes under the soles of your feet on that day. The day which I am preparing, says the Lord of hosts. Here's the distinction. We don't get to see this distinction in our lifetime. Not very often, but sometimes. There will be a distinction where the godless, the truly godless, even though they might have a veneer of godliness, will be sifted and they'll be revealed for what they truly are. And the people of God who have faithfully feared his name, respected and honored him, walked in obedience to what he says. Here's our comfort. The Son of Righteousness will rise with healing in its wings. And you will go forth, and notice the reaction to this. Now, for we who find our delight in God, to find our strength, our healing from the Lord, what does that produce within us? What effect does that have? You will go forth and skip about like calves from the stall. Now, I haven't spent a whole lot of time with cattle, but I've spent enough to know what this is talking about. A new calf has all this energy. You don't see too many full adult cows skipping about the barnyard. Maybe somebody's got a YouTube video out there that can prove me wrong here, but the average cow, adult cow, is not skipping about. Too heavy, too large. But the young ones, they've got all that youthful vibrance, all that energy. Why? They're a cow. I don't know. But I know why I would skip about like that. Something truly delightful would have to happen for me in my 44 years now to actually be happy enough to skip about like that. Something wonderful would have to happen. He elaborates, describes further in verse 3 what that's going to look like. Why would they skip about like this? You will tread down the wicked. The people who've been oppressing them, the people who've been making them look bad, the people who've been mocking God and defaming our great Lord, they will be tread down. For they will be the ashes. That's what was burned up in verse 1. Be the ashes under the soles of your feet on the day which I am preparing. There is so much hope in faithfully following the Lord. And that's why it's such a terrible accusation what they said against God and against God's people back in chapter 3, when they said basically there's no real point to serving God. Here he gives us a little glimmer, a hope. Hope in God. Trust in Him. And know that He will see it through. Know that He will deal with the wicked, and He will bring about healing for us. He will give us more than hope. He will give us even sight before His throne and among His people. Hope as we march through Malachi, you're encouraged. Thank you for joining me.